Okay, are we ready, everybody?
No, hang on a second.
Well,
Hang on a second, and then we'll do the pledge of the flag.
okay.
Okay,
Good evening, everybody. I welcome you all to the Village of Victor Board of Trustees meeting for May 4th, 2020. And Deputy Mayor Mike Crowley will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
awesome.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Mike. Okay. First on our agenda, we have Rob Anderson and the bucket truck insurance agreement in discussion. So Rob was going to be part of the meeting tonight, but he and Reed have had extensive conversations over the last few days. And I think have ironed things out regarding the intermunicipal agreement. So he's not sitting in. If he is, he's just watching on YouTube. Just to give you a little background, I don't know, we got the agreement from the town how long ago now? A week or so, Pam?
Oh, I think it was longer ago than that, but we were kind of on hold because it was my understanding, sorry to interrupt, but
That's
it was
okay.
my understanding that the town wasn't moving forward with it until a week or two ago. So I hadn't gone forward with the review of it until the last, I don't know, 2 weeks. And my biggest concern with the agreement was insurance issues. And it's kind of tricky because what we're talking about is a registered vehicle. The bucket truck is registered through the Department of Motor Vehicles. And because it's a registered motor vehicle, the insurance law that governs it imposes liability on the owner, just like your automobiles impose liability on the owner. So trying to make sure that we address that issue adequately in the agreement was a little bit tricky for us. And it's not perfect. But at the end of the day, I had a couple of long conversations with Rob, and he had some very helpful thoughts with respect to it. And I reached out to the county attorney too, because I know that the county has dealt with this a lot. The county really didn't have any additional suggestions at all to make to it. I think in part because the county is self-insured, and that does put them in a little bit of a different situation than what we're in. But at the end of the day, with the changes that Rob and I discussed and we put into it, we're gonna take it back to the town, and the town's got to agree to it. But Rob and I both agreed that we're in a position where while doing an intermunicipal agreement to share a vehicle that's a registered vehicle is not ideal, the pros outweigh the cons, and we're just better off trying to get as good an agreement as we can, as comfortable as we can with it, and then move forward. And I really doubt that the town will have a problem with the sorts of changes we're making, but if they do, I'll be back to the board.
Thanks, Reed. I don't feel they will have any problem with the changes. They're really minor changes, really. And to John Turner's point, I mean, this is done probably more frequently than we know around the county. Usually it's a piece of equipment that's classified under inland marine. I understand that, but I'm certain that it's done around the county with vehicles that are registered as well. And it makes good sense. And I'm pretty confident, and I'm very thankful for the work that.
Just as he was thanking me, freezes, darn it.
So I don't know if anybody else on the board has a comment. Mr. Turner?
No, I like the agreement. Reed's going to forward it tomorrow to, if the board's in agreement, to Chucky or Mark Years and Barb Cole. So we'll go from there.
Has the rest of the board, have you guys had a chance to look at this?
I've looked at it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if nobody's got any real concerns or comments, then we'll send it back over to the town for their approval, hopefully.
Okay,
Thank you.
you bet.
Next up is the clerk's report.
I've got a motion to accept the meeting minutes from our April 20th meeting.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Carol,
I'll second that.
second by Michelle. Any questions or comments on the meeting minutes of the 20th of April? Only comment I have is I see, Pam, that you put in there that the meeting was to be conducted remotely via Zoom and live streamed on YouTube so that the public could participate. If there are no others, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes.
I have a resolution to accept the payment of bills, abstract number 23.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mike,
I'll second it.
second by Bob. Any comments or questions on the abstract? I saw, Bob, that you had a question, but Diane answered it for you.
Right, I'm good.
Okay. If there are no other questions or comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
Hey, Gary,
Yes, John.
just one thing on those meters, just because of this COVID thing, I don't know, if we're gonna get them all in this year. That's just putting that out there.
Gotcha. There, what, 90 of them? Is that what you? ended
Yeah,
up-
I mean, it's not a big issue to get them in, but like I say, going into the houses might be a little bit of a tricky thing until we find out what's, down in the future for us.
Yeah, that's a real valid point. Thanks, John. Go ahead, Pam.
And then I have a resolution to accept the organizational meeting. I don't know which of these things you'd like me to go with, but as far as the boards go, for the planning board, Meg Chides and Charlie Chris are up for a 5-year term and they both want to be reappointed. For the zoning board, Brendan Crossing is up for a 3-year term and he'd like to be reappointed. And for URA, Carol is up and she would like to be reappointed for 3 years.
Okay. Anything else? We have our typical appointments as well. Our procurement policy, the reverter clause, comprehensive emergency management plan committee, village historian. Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions regarding our organizational meeting list? Our annual list? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None.
Anybody make motions, Mike?
I don't recall anybody making a motion.
Maybe we didn't.
No.
So we'll make a motion, somebody?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mike,
I'll second that.
second by Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and this is the meeting where we re-levy our unpaid water and sewer bills to the county to be put on the village taxes. And I'll read it quick. Resolved that the Village of Victor Board of Trustees authorizes the village clerk to turn over to Ontario County the unpaid amounts of water charges, $16,020.27, for sewer charges, $17,502.04, to be re-levied onto the 2020-2021 village taxes. And I will say, that's about $20,000 less than they have been, so it was a pretty good this year.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Michelle,
I'll second.
second by Carol. Pam, just as a point of clarification, these are unpaid water and sewer bills from the current budget year. 2019-20, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None.
And that's all I have.
Okay, John Turner, project updates. Yeah, just a couple quick things. So we're finished up large trash. We did some asphalt patching this afternoon, finished that up. Met with JP on the sewer treatment plant. Things are progressing pretty good. He thinks that hopefully we'll be able to go two bids sooner than what was projected. He's got some odds and ends to finish up with the prints, and then he's got to get it off to the DEC for approval. What else was there? Oh, I'd just like to thank a couple people. Reed got us some masks today, and Bob Kelly putting up the banners for the DPW.
Yeah, Bob, that's great. You did a great job on those signs.
We even made the paper.
I saw that. Yes, I saw that. In a good way, in a positive way. And Reed, thank you so much for helping with the masks.
Well, you're welcome, but let me bounce the thanks on to George Eckert, who lives in Victor and owns Key Systems. And he's the one who donated them. And we may have some more coming. So.
That's excellent.
That's all you got, Gary.
Pam,
Yes,
you have his name and contact information?
the gentleman
Sorry.
that Reed just said, George Eckert.
Yeah.
I can get it to her if you don't
In
have
case I
it.
want to notify him.
Yep.
Sorry, my screen just went.
It
frozen.
happens every time you thank me, Gary. That's a problem.
Well, we'll stop that. Okay, trustee reports, anything for anybody?
Nothing for me.
Just a couple things, Gary, really quick. URA, we do have a prospective member. I reached out and talked with him, and hopefully he will join us. Our next meeting isn't until July. But I think he seemed interested enough that he'll be joining us. And normally in March, the LDC sends out letters regarding the facade program. I hadn't heard anything this year, so I asked Kathy about it. And she said she's really not sure she wants to even do it this year. She said perhaps the money could be better spent in a different way. And wanted to know our thoughts on it. I said I hadn't, I thought that maybe if construction starts up, that some businesses might be interested in getting some help with projects. I
So
think we
what-
could also look at, there's a possibility that we could pool the money to do a project that would have to be within the URA district that might have a better impact, than just the individual grants. But nothing's been decided, but if anybody here has any thoughts on it, I'll pass those on to Kathy. And
Did you say that there were no applications yet?
they didn't even send out letters asking for applications yet.
Oh, okay,
Kathy wasn't sure she was going to do it this year.
gotcha.
Um,
Did she have something else in mind?
She didn't have anything specific. She said she's still thinking about it and that, you know, maybe we should start thinking outside the box. And I was thinking that we've got, you know, with our revitalization, there may be something that we could use some money for tied to that.
And have you had any discussions, Carol, with Kathy or anybody, any of the other board members about the application for the DRI initiative?
We haven't had anything. Kathy sent out a couple weeks ago. Right now we're trying to gather letters of support for that. I don't know. Did you get an email about that, Gary?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And Bob and I both. So that's part of the process where we get letters of support from, you know, a lot of different sectors of the community. It can be community leaders, civic leaders, business people. We've reached out to a number of people so far. If anybody here is interested in writing a letter of support, I can send you the link, details, the project and what we're looking for in the letter, and they would be sent to, letters will be sent to Kathy Rayburn by May 10th. So,
I would think she would want letters from all of us, probably. Certainly wouldn't hurt.
no, it wouldn't hurt at all.
And-
And if anybody can think of somebody that we should reach out to and ask for support.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. I know, Bob, you have some people that you're reaching out to.
I've contacted about 4 or 5 people.
And I've talked to a few. Amy DePrima is going to get together with Brad Pearson, and they'll write a letter from the chamber.
That's great. I talked to Brad about that probably 10 days ago. He had contacted me about another matter, and I brought that up, and he said he'd be more than willing to do a letter. And I suggested, you know, maybe you both do a letter, you and Amy, or you do one letter together. So
Right,
that's great.
we're starting, but, and it doesn't even have to be somebody within the village. If it's somebody who does business, people here in the village, and the revitalization would impact their business possibly.
Yeah, I would think even people who live outside the village in the town of Victor,
Absolutely.
who have an interest in seeing the downtown area, you know, be successful,
That's
which
it.
pretty much everybody does.
Anyway, but
Okay,
that's all I've got.
thank you, Carol. Anybody else? Michelle?
We did have library board meeting. So for them, it was a lot of financial talk, obviously. You know, there's questions around the library vote, which should be June 22nd. You know, questions around, is that going to be done by absentee ballots? Is that going to be live with the social distancing? And they're full steam ahead regarding the new library. They did call out that they have their feasibility study has kind of been delayed until September, and that they are delaying the 2020 fundraising until 2021. Obviously, because there's no point in doing a fundraising when you don't have a feasibility done first. So, and some other, you know, typical type business, library business things. And then I was let out because they went into executive session. So another sign that things are full steam ahead. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Michelle, John Turner. Thank you for straightening me out on that tree up in Rothbury.
You're welcome.
That would have been a huge mistake.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad I thought of doing that, Joan.
Okay. If nobody else has any, move on to my report. So we have in front of us a resolution for the abolishment of the Village of Victor code enforcement position, the part-time position. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Bob. Any questions or comments regarding this resolution? I have a couple of comments to make. As you know, the town reduced its staff in that department and in some other departments. And they did some layoffs and they did some furlough of employees. In my discussions with the county HR department, they told me that you can't do a layoff without abolishing a position. So hence, it led me to go down this path with this position. And we know one thing is certain, we don't know what's certain here in the very near future, even maybe several months into the future with the budget and the impacts of this COVID-19 situation. I know there's reopening that's going to occur regionally and so forth, but in construction and so forth is one of the first things that will be lifted, some of the restrictions. We still don't know what it's going to look like, what kind of impact that will have on projects here in the Village of Victor. So given all the uncertainty, this is why we're going down this path, and we will be contracting with the town of Victor for code enforcement. They have a reduced staff. They will be able to, we will be able to utilize their staff to a certain extent. The agreement's not final yet. It's still being worked out, but I'm hopeful this week that it'll be finalized. And it looks like it'll be an actual hours type of thing. And I think that is the direction we need to head in. So that's the comments I have at this point in time. If anybody else has any further. So we have a motion, we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Next thing I want to mention, Pam sent the email out on Friday, I think, or it came to her on Friday and she forwarded it regarding village elections. And they have now been postponed for a second time, at least a second time, to take place September 15th. You may have seen the email. She probably sent it out to everyone. So village elections, September 15th. So Carol and Bob, you're stuck with us. We're stuck with you. And that's okay. I don't know yet if it's going to be done by mail, but I would not be surprised. Does anybody have anything else in new business or old business that they want to discuss? And if you don't, then I'm going to suggest we go into an executive session to talk about a proposed real estate situation. And John Turner and Pam can be excused. I would like the board and Reed to remain. And we will not, for the public's benefit, I will tell you now, we will not come out of executive session and proceed with any official business in the board meeting except for adjournment. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Bob. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None.
Gary, just give me a second to end the YouTube. It takes about 30 seconds, so hang on.
See
Okay.
you guys.